Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, Lo-Fi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I am Steve Risser. Justin is still in Italy. We hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And we had a busy show today. I mean, last night we had the college football playoff rankings. The college football playoff rankings were revealed. We got a busy we got championship week in college football too. But before we get to that, we got week 14 of the NFL season. It begins tomorrow night, and it begins with a matchup in the NFC North between the Packers and the Lions. This is a rematch of a game back in week 9, which the Lions won 24-14. And this is a big game for both teams. Lions trying to win the division. You know, they got the Vikings on their heels. You got the Packers still wanting to have a chance to win the division. But if they do lose this one, it's over. If the Packers lose this over. They're behind by 4 games with 4 to play. If the Packers lose, their hopes to win the division are over. And so this should be a very, very interesting game on Thursday night. You know, you got injuries on both sides. The Lions have been really banged up on defense. You know, obviously Hutchinson's out for the year. Anzalone's out. Barnes is out. Rodriguez is out. They got some linebackers that are out. You look at the Packers. Josh Jacobs, he's questionable for the game. So is Jari Alexander. Jari Alexander didn't play in the Thanksgiving Day matchup against the Dolphins. So this should be a really good game between two division rivals. I think this is going to be a really close game. And I think because the last game, the weather conditions were not good. So Jordan Love really struggled. Jared Goff was better in the conditions than Jordan Love. But in this game, I think that it's going to be close. It's going to be competitive. And I think both quarterbacks are going to play really, really well the entire game. I think it's going to be a really, really fun, high-scoring game between both these teams. I'm really looking forward to this game because it's going to be a high-scoring game between both these two teams. But in the end, I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with the home team to go to 12-1. I know last week they were kind of lucky to beat the Bears because of the timeout, but I think they win another division game. I think they win this one. I got the Lions winning this one 31-27 over the Packers and remaining in first place in the NFC North. The Packers, I got them dropping to 9-4. Still in a I still have the Packers the Packers having a really, really good chance to get one of the 3 wild card spots, probably probably the 5 or the 6 seed with the way they're playing and the way Jordan Love's playing. But I think this is going to be it's going to be a competitive game. But I'm going with the Lions here. I'm going with the Lions to beat the Packers 31-27. But Justin disagrees. Justin is going with the Packers here. Justin is going with the Packers. He's got the Packers winning 28-24. So should be a very, very interesting game on Thursday night. You know, the Lions have kind of had the Packers number recently. I mean, they beat them twice in 2022. Aaron Rodgers' last year. They split last year, and they beat him the first game this year. So the Lions have won 5 of the last 6 matchups between these two teams. The Lions have won 5 of the last 6 matchups. Packers, they want to get better. They want to. This is a big spot for them. If they win this game, they got a shot to win the division. And maybe potentially even get a bye in the playoffs. But if they lose, there's no way they win the division. So a massive swing game here because if the Lions win, they pretty much have a 4-game lead on the Packers, and the Packers would be in third place. But if the Lions lose, they could potentially be tied with the Vikings. Even though they have the tiebreaker in the NFC North, they both would have 2 losses, and the Packers would be a game behind them. So a massive swing game here, a big, big division game between the Packers and the Lions. Now, speaking of the Vikings, they host the struggling Atlanta Falcons this week. Kirk Cousins faces former team, and Kirk Cousins has been terrible the last 3 weeks. 0 touchdowns, 6 picks, and last week he was horrendous against the against the Chargers, which begs the question to a lot of people: why did the Falcons even honestly sign him in the first place? Or really, why did they do both? Why did they do both? And again, they're kind of similar. They're a little bit similar to the Giants, where they were not 100% committed to their QB going into this year. We all thought with the Falcons going into the draft that, with them signing Kirk Cousins, with the amount of money that they did, that they wouldn't take a quarterback in the first round. They would take like an edge rusher, like a Jared Verse or a Dallas Turner in the first round. But they didn't. They took Michael Penix. And, Kirk Cousins. It worked out early on. It worked out early in the season. I mean, he had 3 come-from-behind wins. That game against the Eagles in week 2. The game against the Bucs in week 5. And then the comeback win against the Saints in week 4. So he was really good on the final drive of the game. But he's also had his duds. He has also had some duds. The opening game against the Steelers, the game against the Broncos, the game against the Saints, and then last week. Recently, he has just not played well at all. Kirk Cousins has not played well at all. And I think it continues this week. I think the Vikings run the ball with Aaron Jones. I think Sam Darnold continues to play well. We talked about Kirk Cousins' struggles the last 3 weeks from Sam Darnold. When I thought he might be tailing off after that Jacksonville game, the last 3 weeks, all victories over the Titans, Bears, and last week against the Cardinals. 6 touchdowns, no picks, and had the game-winning drive last week. I thought the last week was the most impressed I have ever been with Sam Darnold. The most impressed I've ever been with Sam Darnold with the game-winning drive he engineered last week against the Cardinals, because he was down 2 scores in the second half, and he brought that team back to win. And let's be honest, he proved last week the Vikings are our Super Bowl contender with the Packers, with the Lions, with the Eagles. They're a contender in the NFC because of the way that Sam Darnold has played. He has just played really, really well. It's been a great match between him and Kevin O'Connell. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought the Vikings would be 10-2 with Sam Darnold as their quarterback? And they are. And I think they go to 11-2 because I think he has a really good game. I think Aaron Jones runs the ball. And most importantly, they force a couple turnovers from Kirk Cousins. So I got the Vikings here winning it 30-17. Justin has the Vikings winning it a little bit closer, 21-16. And then on the Falcons side, I mean, if Cousins plays poorly again and keeps playing poorly, do you go to Michael Penix? Do you go to Michael Penix? Because they didn't think at the beginning of the year there'd be any shot they go to Michael Penix. Now there's talk about it. Which shows you that things are a mess in Atlanta. Things are a mess in Atlanta with this Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix situation. It's just a disaster. And now say they don't make the playoffs, Tampa wins the division, and they move on from Kirk Cousins, $25 million in dead money going into next year. And when you're trying to build a team around a young quarterback, so at least they do have some talent with Drake London, with Bijan Robinson, but still, just not the best, not a really good move by Terry Fontenot going out and drafting Penix when he already had Kirk Cousins, or in the first place signing Kirk Cousins when he was going to draft a quarterback anyway. So things not going well for the Falcons, going really well for the Vikings. I got the Vikings going to 11-2, and I got the Falcons going to 6-7. Now, one of the biggest games in Week 14 is in LA as the red-hot Buffalo Bills right now, 10-2. They've won 8 in a row. They've won 7 in a row. Josh Allen has been phenomenal. Right now, he's the lead candidate for MVP, and he absolutely should be. There's no way he should be. And then you got the Rams, they've been up and down. Stafford has been good. The defense has been up and down this year. I mean, they started off slow, started to play better. Won last week against the Saints. But in this game, I think that the Bills and their run game. I think we all know the Rams really struggle against the run. I think James Cook has a good game. I think you're getting another big game out of Josh Allen, and I think you're getting another Bills victory here. You're getting another Bills victory. I think the Bills. I think it stays close early on, but I think the Bills' defense, their pass rush, because Stafford is a little bit banged up after last week. I think their defense takes over in the second half. I think their run game takes. I think it's close in the first half, but I think the defense of the Bills and the run game of the Bills with James Cook takes over in the second half, and that's why I got the Bills going to 11-2, Rams going to 6-7. I got the Bills beating the Rams 31-20, and Justin's got it 28-20. Right now, to me, there's no question who the MVP is. Seeing the way Lamar Jackson played last week, seeing that Mahomes hasn't been great this year, and Saquon Barkley's had a great year, no doubt. As a Giants fan, it hurts me to say that Saquon's had a great year with the Eagles, but Here's the thing. If you take Josh Allen off of his team, you take Saquon off of his team, who would have more value? Obviously, it's Josh Allen. That's why right now, Josh Allen is the leading candidate for MVP, and he definitely should be the MVP this season. And he's the biggest reason why the Bills are having the year they're having. They traded Stephon Diggs, and they really haven't missed a beat because of the run game. They did a good job, trading for Amari Cooper. Even though he hasn't been this huge impact, he still has been good. And he had that, crazy play last week against the 49ers. So, Josh Allen right now is the MVP. And I got the Bills going to 11-2, going to their huge matchup next week against the Lions. So I got the Bills going to 11-2. Now moving on to the team that the Bills are chasing in the AFC, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. And they got a rematch this week on Sunday Night Football against the Chargers, who are playing really well. They're 8-4. They currently have the number 6 seed in the AFC. The Chiefs hanging on to that number 1 seed, but they're really hanging on with all these one-score wins. 10 one-score wins. 10 one-score wins. Who knows if this is going to be sustainable? It's so hard to go against the Chiefs because they've been so great for the last 6-7 years. But all these one-score wins might end up catching up to the Chiefs. But seeing how this year has gone and seeing how the first matchup went with these two teams, I don't see this week being any different. I don't see this week being any different. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs win this game. And I think they win a close one. I think Kareem Hunt runs the ball well. I think Mahomes throws a couple touchdown passes. I do think Herbert moves the ball, but with McConkey kind of banged up. I think the problem is the Chargers will settle for field goals. The Chiefs are going to get touchdowns. I think that's going to be the biggest difference in the game is the Chiefs will be the better team in the red zone in this game. And that's why I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I'm going to go with the Chiefs to go to 12-1 and continue to hold on to that number 1 seed in the AFC. I got the Chiefs beating the Chargers 28-23. But Justin's got an upset here. He's got the Chargers 20-17. It looks like Justin is sick of the Chiefs winning all these one-score games. He thinks the Chargers Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers get their revenge from Week 4 on Sunday night. So Justin's got the Chargers. I got the Chiefs. Should be a really, really good game between these two teams on Sunday night, and should turn into a really good rivalry. And this rivalry, I think, is going to be sustainable between these two teams because Mahomes and the Chiefs are going nowhere. And now with the Chargers, finally Justin Herbert, who's not a great quarterback but a really good quarterback, has a really good coach, has a great coach in Jim Harbaugh. And I think they're just going to continue to improve that roster. And I think this is going to turn into a really, really good rivalry. I think the Chiefs rivalries with the Chargers, and then even with with the Broncos, I think those are going to turn into some really, really good rivalries in the coming years. Seeing the coaches now, seeing that the Chargers got Harbaugh and the Broncos got Sean Payton, and they both got quarterbacks. So it should be an interesting game Sunday night. Justin's got the Chargers, I got the Chiefs. Should be a really good game on Sunday night. Now we move on to the Monday night game between the Bengals and the Cowboys. Both teams having disappointing seasons. I think the Bengals are actually a little bit more disappointing because with Joe Burrow, I expect him to be in a Super Bowl conversation playing meaningful football after Thanksgiving every single year. That's not the case with them. And for the Bengals, I think Zach Taylor has got to be fired. Zach Taylor has got to be fired. I mean, the slow starts every year. Now the team's underperforming. The defense is terrible. It's very rare to have a quarterback have the season that he's had. And Joe Burrow's had a great year and only win 4 games and be 4-8. So it's very, very rare to have a quarterback have the season he has had, and see the team not play well. And that's been the problem. A lot of one-score losses. I mean, they've lost 2 games where they've scored 38 points or more. That's inexcusable. That's unacceptable. You got to fire the head coach. I'm sorry. Jack Taylor has got to go. Lou Anarumo has got to go as well. Their defense is awful, one of the worst in football with the Jaguars and the Panthers. So, I mean, but for this game, I think it's going to be, again, a high-scoring game. I think that Burrow's going to have a big day against this Cowboys defense. I think that I do think the Cowboys will move the ball on the Bengals. I think Rico Dabo will have another good game. I think Cooper Rush will make a big mistake, but he'll make plays in this game. CeeDee Lamb will make plays in this game. But I think it'll come down to the end. I think it'll come down to the ball in Cooper Rush's hands, and I don't think Cooper Rush gets it done. I got the Bengals here 30-24 over the Cowboys. Justin has got the Bengals 30-21. And yeah, we talked about the Bengals season. The Cowboys season has definitely been a disappointment. Because even if they had a healthy Dak Prescott and a healthy Micah Parsons, this team would not be a playoff team. Obviously, they've won 2 in a row. Micah Parsons is still hope the Cowboys can make the playoffs, but I just don't see it happening. Because if you look at their schedule, this is going to be even though the Bengals aren't playing well, this is going to be a tough game. I know they do have the Panthers the next week, which they could win that. But then you see the end of their schedule. Buccaneers, who are better than they're 6-6, but they're better than their record. I feel like I think they've had a brutal schedule. They got the two best teams in the NFC East. You got the Eagles on the road and the Commanders. Honestly, I see this team maybe winning one more game. I think they finish 6-11. I see this team winning one more game, especially with Cooper Rush. Maybe if Dak is the quarterback, they could make a run. I just don't see it with Cooper Rush, even though he's won the last 2 games. I'll give him credit for the Washington win, but last week he beat one of the worst teams in football in the Giants, the team that has a very, very good chance to have the number 1 pick. So I think the Bengals win in this spot. I got the Bengals winning here. I got the Bengals beating the Cowboys 30-24. Bengals to go to 5-8. I think both teams, Bengals improve to 5-8, and Cowboys fall to 5-8 after Monday night. We got the Panthers traveling to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. I know the Panthers have played a little bit better. I think the one positive sign for them is I think Bryce Young is their guy. I think this Bryce Young-Dave Canales combination can work because he's played pretty well the last couple of weeks. The problem is their defense is absolutely atrocious, and Saquon Barkley is going to have a huge day against this team. Jalen Hurts should have a big day. I think the Eagles defense is going to force some turnovers on Bryce Young, and I got the Eagles here winning big. I got the Eagles winning at 34-13. Justin Kless, has it a little bit of a better game, but he's got the Eagles here too. He's got the Eagles 28-13 over the Panthers on Sunday. This should be a win. This should be an easy win for the Eagles on Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia. Now we got the Saints, who are coming off a loss last week, traveling to MetLife Stadium to face the Giants. The Giants are in a terrible place right now. Things went from bad to worse on Thanksgiving. I know they didn't get beat. They didn't get beat as badly. I know the Giants. I know the Giants didn't get beat as badly. They didn't get humiliated on Thanksgiving. But the issue is now they're going to be without Dexter Lawrence, their best defensive player, the best player on their team for the entire season. Theo Johnson is out for the year too, and we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. If it's going to be Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock, we don't even know what it's going to be, and I don't think it's going to matter because I think the Saints, without Dexter Lawrence, Alvin Kamara is going to have a huge game, and he's going to run for over 100 yards. I do think they'll struggle to score in the red zone, but the Giants won't be able to score enough points. I think the Saints get 19 or 20 points, and that'll be enough to beat the Giants on Sunday because I got the Saints winning this one. I got them winning at 19-13. The Giants are the favorite to get the number 1 pick, and they should be. Looking at their schedule down the stretch, you got the Saints, you got the Ravens, you got the Falcons, you got the Colts, and you got the Eagles. The Ravens and Eagles are pretty much losses, and then you got 3 other teams that the Saints aren't good, but they still have a mathematical chance to win the NFC South. And then you have the Falcons and the Colts. Yeah, the Falcons haven't played well, but they're far from being out of it. And then you got the Colts too. They're still trying to get a wild card spot. So none of the teams, the difference between them and the Raiders and the Jaguars is the Raiders and Jaguars play each other. The Giants aren't playing really any of the teams that are tanking that have a chance to get the number 1 pick as well. So I think the Giants have a very good chance to wind up with the number 1 overall pick. We'll see We'll see if Merritt goes back on his word. That's a conversation we'll be having the next couple of weeks. If he goes back on his word from what he said, from the vote of confidence he gave, Dayball and Shane, but that's a conversation we'll have in a couple of weeks. But I think the Saints win this game, and then the Saints win it. Saints win the game. I think it's a close game, but I think the Saints win it. I got the Saints 19-13, and Justin agrees. He's got the Saints 23-17 over the Giants. We got an AFC North matchup in Pittsburgh this week as the Steelers host the Browns, a rematch of a game a couple of weeks ago, and a very exciting Thursday night game in the snow between those two teams. I think this will be a fun game too. Jameis, that was a game we didn't expect to be so exciting on Monday Night Football. That was a really exciting game between the Browns and Broncos. I think this game will be exciting. I think it'll be a fun game. I think Jameis, he'll throw a couple touchdowns, but he'll throw a couple picks, and I do think Russell Wilson will throw a couple touchdown passes, and I think James Warren and Najee Harris run the ball well too for the Steelers. I think it's close and competitive, and I think the Steelers get revenge from what happened a couple weeks ago. I got the Steelers winning this one 27-20, and I got the Steelers going to 10-3, and another really good year for Mike Tomlin. And if the Steelers win this one, they're 2 games up on the Ravens. So the Steelers are in really good shape, not only to make the playoffs, but to win the division. Who would have thought that at the start of the year? Who would have thought, with the Ravens getting Derrick Henry? Who would have thought with competing with Joe Burrow, a healthy Joe Burrow in that division? And who would have thought even with the Browns? The Browns are came off a year where they made the playoffs. Who would have thought the Steelers would be the team that won the division? But Mike Tomlin continues to prove why he is one of the best coaches in football, and this team is at 10 wins, and Russell Wilson has had his best year since 2021. He's had a really, really good season as the Steelers starting quarterback. So I put the Steelers right now. I mean, I know the Bills and the Chiefs are the favorites to go to the Super Bowl, but outside of them right now, the Steelers might be the third best team in the AFC, which is crazy at the beginning of the year. A lot of people thought they were a 7-8 win team. The Steelers right now are the third best team in the AFC. So the Steelers have had a really, really good year. I got them beating the Browns on Sunday, 27-20, and Justin agrees. He's got them beating the Browns 24-20. Now we got an AFC East matchup down in Miami. Both teams coming off losses this last week. The Dolphins, proved again why they can't win in the cold. They did. They got beat good. They got beat pretty good at Lambeau Field on Thanksgiving night, and then the Jets showed you why they continue to be an absolute disgrace this year. Aaron Rodgers is not even close to the quarterback he once was. That pick six on Sunday he had against Leonard Williams. This game was. I mean, the Jets pretty much got 14 of their points on special teams. The Seahawks tried to pretty much give the Jets this game. The Seahawks tried to give them the game, and the Jets wouldn't take it. The Jets would not take it. And Aaron Rodgers was not good at all. He just wasn't good. He was shut out in the second half, had a terrible pick six there after he missed a wide open Garrett Wilson in the end zone the play before. So Aaron Rodgers was not good for the Jets. The Jets continue to be an absolute disgrace. And the Dolphins, I think they'll do what they do at home, that they've done the last couple of weeks at home with Tua in this offense. They'll play well, and I think they'll have another big game this week where they score over 30 points. I think the run game will be there with Mostert and A-Chain. I think Tua will throw 3 or 4 touchdown passes because Sauce Gardner will be out, even though Sauce Gardner hasn't played well this year. I think he'll be out. And I do think Rodgers will turn the ball over a couple of times. That's why I got the Dolphins winning this one. And I got the Dolphins winning by a couple scores. I'm going with Miami here. I'm going with Miami 31-17 over the Jets. And Justin's got the Dolphins 27-20 over the Jets. Yeah, the Jets are just an absolute disaster. Absolute disastrous season for this team. They'll have a new coach. They'll have a new GM, that's for sure. And they should have a new quarterback, seeing the way Aaron Rodgers has played this year. We'll stay in the state of Florida as the Raiders travel to Tampa to face the Bucs. And I do think this game is a little closer than people think. I think that the Raiders offense with Aiden O'Connell will move the ball, but I don't think they'll score a lot of touchdowns. They'll kick some field goals. And I do think Baker's a little bit banged up. He didn't play great last week. I think he's a little bit banged up, but I do think they'll do enough to win this game. I think they will do enough to get into first place, to beat the Raiders and get into first place. I got the Bucs winning this game 24-19 over the Raiders. And Justin, he agrees with me. He's got the Bucs winning this game. He's got the Bucs 27-18 over the Raiders. So so after this week, even though the Falcons have beaten the Bucs twice, I got the Buccaneers in first place in their division. Now, a game that means nothing, absolutely nothing in Jacksonville this week as the Jags take on the Titans. I know the Jags have got a lot of publicity this week for the Al-Shaair hit on their quarterback Trevor Lawrence. It looks like Trevor Lawrence is probably not going to play this game. I'm just going to go with the Titans here because they're the home team. The Titans are the home team. Their defense has played a little bit better, and they're the home team. So I'm going Titans here. I'm going Titans 20-16. I think Justin agrees. He's got the Titans 17-13. So we will move on to one of the bigger games from Week 14. And it's a battle for first place in Arizona as the 7-5 Seahawks take on the 6-6 Cardinals. And last week, the Seahawks, they're 7-5, but again, they did everything they could to help the Jets win that game, and the Jets just couldn't do it because the Jets kept beating themselves. So I think, and I know the Seahawks beat the Cardinals. They beat the Cardinals 2 weeks ago, but I think the Cardinals get revenge this week. I think Kyler Murray is a big game. I think a good game. I think there was a couple touchdown passes. I think they have more success on the ground with James Conner in this game, a guy they locked up to extension a couple weeks ago. And the Seahawks, I think Geno Smith makes plays, but I think he also makes that big mistake, which cost the Seahawks here. I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. I got the Cardinals to tie the Seahawks for first place in the division. I got the Cardinals beating the Seahawks. I got them beating the Seahawks 24-20 in Arizona on Sunday afternoon. And Justin agrees. He's got the Cards winning this game too. He's got the Cardinals beating the Seahawks 26-21. Big game between those two teams on Sunday afternoon. It should be interesting to see what happens there. If the Seahawks win it, they're in great shape. Seahawks win it, they're more likely gonna have a 2-game lead on everybody, because you look at who the Rams got to play. They got to play the Bills, and if the Cardinals lose, they go to 6-7. But the reason I'm picking the Cardinals here is I can't see the Seahawks having a 2-game lead. Seeing them have a 2-game lead in the NFC West, so that's why I'm going Cardinals here. I got the Cardinals 24-20 over the Seahawks, and we will wrap up talking about the Bears, who rightfully so fired their coach on Thanksgiving. I mean, what an absolute embarrassment. For embarrassment on Thanksgiving, especially for Matt Eberflus. I mean, I've been watching football for over 25 years. I have never seen that happen. I've never seen a team, with a timeout late in the game, not call a timeout in the game end. Eberflus had to be fired. Even though the team had played better since the Patriot game, the team had more competitive, he had to have been fired. I mean, it goes back to, this team struggles late in games. It goes back to that Hail Mary against the Commanders, where the Hail Mary against the Commanders, where Stevenson, is talking to the fans before the game is over. Then you had the Green Bay game where Eberflus was completely conservative at the end. That was not good. That was terrible. Even though Caleb Williams played well in that game, he played well enough, and he deserved to win that Packer game. Then the Viking game, which they had that comeback, but Eberflus' defense gave up 30 points in that game. And then last week was a total embarrassment. And then you had issues in the locker room. You had Jalen Johnson cursing him out in the locker room. Eberflus needed to go. There was no choice. Eberflus needed to go. The Bears had no choice. They had to fire him. But I do think with Thomas Brown, this Bears, because Caleb Williams has played better. I think this team is going to play better. And here's the thing with the Niners, they have been ravaged. They haven't played as well this year. I don't think the injuries have been the total reason why they've had a disappointing season. They haven't played as well this year, but they have been ravaged with injuries. You don't know if Bose is going to play. You don't know if Trent Williams is going to play. And they got blown out, though. They weren't even competitive. They weren't competitive against the Packers, and they weren't competitive against the Bills. And so just something you just don't usually see from a Kyle Shanahan coach team. And I think this game is close and competitive, but this is going to be my one upset this week. I think the Bears are galvanized. They're going to be galvanized by Thomas Brown taking over as the head coach. I think that DeAndre Swift's going to have a good game on the ground, because teams have ran all over the 49ers, especially with the injuries they've had with Bosen and Warner playing banged up. I think Caleb Williams plays pretty well. I do think Brock Purdy is a decent game, but I think he makes the Bears defense forced him to make a mistake. And I'm gonna go with the Bears here. And I think Caleb Williams leads that game-winning drive this time. I think it's tied 20-20 late, and Caleb Williams leads this game-winning drive. I think the Bears snapped their 6-game losing streak. I think the Bears snapped this losing streak, and I got the Bears winning this spot. I got the Bears beating the 49ers 23-20, and Justin agrees with me. Justin's got the Bears too. He's got the Bears in their 6-game losing streak. He's got the Bears winning this game 23-18. So should be an interesting week 14 in the NFL as we get close to the home stretch. So should be a very, very interesting week 14 around the NFL. But we had another installment of the college football playoff rankings. We had another installment, and there was some controversy, especially at the bottom of those rankings. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEG's Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEG's Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so we last night we had another installment in the college football playoff rankings, and it was very, very interesting. I think the biggest storyline that came out of last night was Alabama being ranked ahead of Miami. I think that was the biggest storyline. You had Alabama being ranked ahead of Miami, and personally, I think they should be. I think Alabama should be ranked ahead of Miami. I know that Miami only has 2 losses, and Alabama has Miami, and they only have I know Alabama only has Miami only has 2 losses, and Alabama only has 3. But I think they should be ranked ahead. I think they should be because Alabama. Look at some of the teams Alabama beat. They beat Georgia. They beat South Carolina. I mean, I know people don't like LSU, but they beat LSU. So I think they definitely should be ahead. And the one top 25 team that Miami played, they lost to last week. They lost to Syracuse. They blew a 21-point lead, and they lost to Georgia Tech. So yeah. So I think that the rankings are. I think they're accurate. I think the committee did a good job going off of eye test. Just like last week, they went off of eye test. They didn't go off of. They didn't go off of. They didn't go off of just the records. They went off of eye test. So I like what the committee did. I really, really like what the committee did there. And again, the biggest storyline, having Bama ahead of Miami. I think that was the biggest storyline of the week, and I think they deserve to be. If you look at it now, right now you got Oregon with the 1 seed. You got the 2 seed is Texas. 3 seed is SMU because they lead the ACC. 4 seed beat Boise State. 5 seed you got Penn State. 6 seed you got Notre Dame. 7 seed Georgia. 8 seed Ohio State. That's another one that's a little bit interesting is Ohio State. It is a little bit interesting that Ohio State is the number 8 seed. That's a little bit interesting, putting them ahead of Tennessee. But I get that because they beat Indiana and they beat Penn State and Tennessee's best win was Alabama. So they had, Ohio State beat 2 teams that are in the playoff, and they beat Penn State on the road in Happy Valley. So I do get that Ohio State, even though they had a really bad loss last week, embarrassing loss to Michigan, I do get that they still are getting a home game currently right now in the college football playoff. So I get that they are still having a home game. But for me, there's 8 teams that have clinched. There are 8 teams that have clinched going into this week. Oregon's clinched. Texas is clinched. Penn State's clinched. Notre Dame's clinched. Georgia's clinched. Ohio State's clinched. Tennessee's clinched, and Indiana's clinched. So there's 4 spots left. And I think there's 7 teams that are fighting for those 4 spots. The Big 12 championship game, that's obviously a playoff game between Arizona State and Iowa State. The ACC championship game could be a game Clemson needs to win, but could be a potential playoff game between SMU and Clemson. And then the Mountain West championship game is a playoff game between Boise State and UNLV. All those 3 winners are going to get in. So that's good. So there's going to be 1 spot left for the at-large teams. I think Miami, South Carolina, and Ole Miss are done. There's no way those 3 teams are going to make it. Especially for Miami. If Miami's not ahead of Bama now, but they're not going to be ahead of Bama on Sunday because they're not playing. Same thing with Ole Miss, same thing with South Carolina. Those 3 teams are not playing and they're below Bama. Those 3 teams are done. Miami, South Carolina, Ole Miss, done. Those teams are done. So really what it is it's 7 teams fighting for 4 spots. 7 teams fighting for 4 spots. With the Big 12 with Arizona State and Iowa State, ACC with SMU and Clemson, Mountain West with Boise State and UNLV, and then Alabama being the last at-large team. But Alabama is one of the 4 teams in. But what's going to make this thing really, really interesting is say Clemson beats SMU, and it's between SMU and Alabama who gets in. That's going to be a tough decision for the committee. If SMU beats Clemson, the committee's job is done for them. It's an easy decision. You know you're going to know the 12 teams. Alabama will get that last spot. But if Clemson wins the ACC, then it's going to be chaos on Selection Sunday between SMU and Alabama. So it's really all going to come down. It's all going to come down to that ACC championship game. That's what it's going to come down to. If SMU wins, easy for the committee. Bama's going to get that last spot in that 11th seed. But if Clemson wins, it's going to be a lot of controversy between SMU and Alabama. So it should be fun going into this championship week of the college football season. And we're going to start in the Big Ten here. We're going to start in the Big Ten between Penn State and Oregon. Penn State earned the right to get to this game because Michigan beat Ohio State. Oregon, they're undefeated. They are the number 1 team in the country right now. Oregon, undefeated, number 1 team in the country right now. And I think this is a close competitive game. But I do think the biggest difference, in this game, I think, is the quarterback. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to outplay Drew Aller. He's going to outplay Aller in this game. I do think Penn State might run the ball better than Oregon, even though they both with Jordan James and Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. I think Penn State has a little bit of a better running game. Their running games are equal to each other. But I think the passing game of Oregon is a little bit better, and that's going to be the difference in this game. Both teams have good defenses. Both teams are really, really, really good teams. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go Oregon here. I got Oregon winning the Big Ten championship. I know I hate to say it as a Penn State fan. I got Oregon winning the Big Ten championship game in their first year in the league. I got Oregon winning this game 27-23 over Penn State. And Justin, he agrees with me. He's got Oregon winning this game. He's got Oregon beating Penn State 28-21. So should be a very, very interesting game in the Big Ten. Should be a very, very interesting game between those two teams. Should be fun. Should be very interesting between those two. But I got Oregon winning this game and getting the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. I got Oregon winning it 27-23. Now moving on to the SEC championship game. This is a rematch of a game in the middle of the season where Georgia beat Texas 30-15. I think this is again going to be a really close competitive game. I think the loss of Trevor Etienne could hurt Georgia here. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. Beck had 3 picks. Quinn Ewers did struggle in that game too. Texas did struggle to run the ball with Wisner. I think in this game, Texas is going to run the ball better. I think they're going to run the ball better than they did in the first meeting. But the difference in this game is I think Carson Beck is going to outplay Quinn Ewers, and I think the game being in Atlanta is going to matter. I know it's going to be hard for Georgia to beat Texas twice, but the game being in Atlanta, I think, is going to matter here. And Texas has never played in an SEC title game. I know Kirby Smart has lost in the conference championship game 4 times, but look at who those 4 losses were to. 3 of them were to Alabama. 3 of them were to Alabama in 2018. That Alabama team got to the national title game. It was to Saban in Alabama in 2021. They played that Alabama team in the national title game and they beat them, and it was to Alabama last year. This will be a pro Georgia crowd. Texas has never been in a spot like this. Texas doesn't really have a signature win. Georgia beat Tennessee. Georgia beat Tennessee. They have a signature win. Texas is 11-1, but they really don't have a signature win. I think it's close. I think it's competitive, but I think Carson Beck outplays Quinn Ewers. I think the game comes down to Quinn Ewers with the ball in his hands, and I don't think Quinn Ewers gets it done. And I think Georgia wins the championship. They win the SEC title. I got Georgia winning the SEC. I got them winning this game. I got them beating Texas 24-20. Should be a very, very interesting game. And Justin disagrees with me on this one. Justin disagrees. He's got Texas here. He's got Texas. The other way around. We have the same score, but he's got Texas. He's got Texas 24-20. So this should be a very interesting game between these two teams. If Georgia wins it, there's a chance they get the 1 seed because Georgia wins this game, they'll get the 2 seed. Texas, they would have a chance of the 1 seed. If Texas wins and Penn State wins, they'd have the 1 seed. So the winner of this game is getting the 1 or 2 seed regardless. The winner of this one is getting the 1 or 2 seed. So it should be a really good game. It should be a really, really good game in Atlanta on Saturday night. SEC on Saturday afternoon. SEC is always an interesting conference championship game. Texas. Funny thing about the conference championship games is Oregon's the first year in the league trying to win the championship. Texas, first year in the league trying to win the championship. Arizona State, we'll get to them, first year in the league trying to win a championship. And SMU, first year in the league trying to win it. So I think all the Power Four. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong about SMU. I'm not 100% sure about SMU, but of the four conference championship games, a new team in the league is trying to win it. So should be a very, very interesting SEC title game between Georgia and Texas. Should be very interesting in that game. Now we will move on to the Big 12 championship game. This is a playoff game. This is a playoff game here between Iowa State and Arizona State. I mean, I think this is going to be a competitive game, a close competitive game. Two lost teams, number 16, number 15. Should be a competitive game. But I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be that running back for Arizona State. Cam Scatterborough, I think is going to have a huge game. 5 of the last 7 games, Scatterborough has ran for over 100 yards. Scatterborough has ran for over 100 yards in 5 of his last 7 games. I think it's the same thing here. I think it's a huge game. I think he does enough to get Arizona State. What a job Rob Dillingham has done this year. What a turnaround he's done. What a job he's done turning around this program this year. Rob Dillingham has done a great job. I think Cam Scatterborough has a big game. I think it comes down to the end, but I'm going Arizona State here. I'm going Arizona State to win the Big 12. I got them winning it. I got them beating Iowa State 31-24. I got Arizona State as the Big 12 champion and the Big 12 representative in the college football playoff. So I got Arizona State winning that game. And another game Justin disagrees with me on here. He's got Iowa State. He's got Matt Campbell's team winning. He's got Iowa State 27-21. So it should be a really, really good game. It should be a really, really good game in Dallas on a really good game in Dallas on Saturday afternoon. Should be a good game in Dallas between those two. Now we move on to the ACC championship game between Clemson and SMU. I think you got number 17 Clemson, number 8 number 8 SMU, and these two teams didn't play during the regular season. Both had one loss in the ACC. So you had both Clemson and SMU having one loss in the ACC. And for this game, I think it's going to be the team that runs the ball better. I think SMU does a good job containing Clemson's run game, containing Maffa in the run game. And I think it's going to be Brashard Smith who's the difference. I think he has a big game on the ground. I think he has a really, really good game on the ground. I think it comes down to the end. But I'm going to go with SMU here. I think SMU, they've won 8 in a row. I think they win their 9th in a row. They've been really impressive these last couple of weeks. I mean, they beat Pitt 48. They beat Pitt pretty good. They beat Cal pretty good. They beat Virginia pretty good. SMU is playing really good football. Clemson, they lost to South Carolina last week. Dabo Swinney, yes, they're a little bit better than they've been, but I think he's going to continue to regret not using the portal. I think this game might, get him to start going to the portal because I think that SMU is going to win this. I think they win it. I think if the committee's not going to have to, in my opinion, the committee's not going to have to worry on Sunday. I think SMU wins and gets the number 3 seed in the college football playoff. I got them winning this game. I got SMU beating Clemson 28-20 and winning behind the running game of Brashard Smith and winning the ACC. So I got SMU winning the ACC. So I got Arizona State, Oregon, and SMU in the first years in their league winning their conference. We will move on to the Mountain West Championship game, which is a big game between Boise State and UNLV. And this is a rematch of a game earlier in the year, which Boise State won 29-24. I think in the rematch, though, I think Ashton Jeanty shows you why he is one of the best backs in the country. I think he's going to have a huge game. I think he's going to run in Boise. They're going to have to go to the blue turf at Boise State in Boise, Idaho. I got Ashton Jeanty having a big, big game against UNLV. I got Ashton Jeanty winning this. I got Boise State winning this game. I got Boise State winning this one 31-20 and getting a spot in the college football playoff. And I think getting a bye in the college football playoff. I got Boise State winning this game 31-20. I got Boise State winning. I got them knocking UNLV out. I got them winning at 31-20. And now we'll wrap up talking about the American Conference Championship game, and that is between Tulane and Army. And I don't think either of these teams can make it. You never know with the committee. You never know. But Tulane with 3 losses, not even ranked. Army number 24, because even if UNLV beats Boise State, it's a better win and they're higher ranked. So I don't think this game is going to matter in terms of the college football playoff. I don't think the game will matter in terms of the college football playoff, but I am going to go with Army to win this one. I'm going to go with Army to win this one 28-24. I think the run game is going to be too much. And here's another thing. I do think the home field advantage will matter for Army here against Tulane. That's why I got Army winning this one 28-24 and winning the American Conference Championship. So before I wrap up and talk about the UConn game tonight, UConn basketball game tonight, I will give you my 12 teams that I think are going to make the playoff here based on the results that I think are going to happen this week. So I'm going to give you my 12 teams. Number one, I think it's going to be Oregon. I think Oregon will be the number one seed in the college football playoff. I think they'll be the number one seed. They'll win the Big Ten this week, and they'll be the number one seed. My number two seed is going to be Georgia. I think Georgia wins the SEC, and they're my number two seed. Georgia will be my number two seed. Number three is going to be SMU. I think SMU wins the ACC, and they get the number three seed. Number four, I'm going to go Boise State. I think Boise State will be the number four seed in the college football playoff. Now to the first round games. My number five seed, I think the team that the team I think is going to lose the SEC title game, and that is going to be Texas. I got Texas as my number five seed. My number six seed is going to be Penn State. I think Penn State I think they lose the Big Ten championship game, but I think they get a home game in Happy Valley. They're my number six seed. My number seven seed is going to be Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame gets the number seven seed in the college football play. I think they get the 7 seed. The 8 seed, I think, is going to be Ohio State. The 9 seed is going to be Tennessee. The 10 seed is going to be Indiana. So Indiana, I think the number 11 seed is going to be Alabama. So my first round matchups are going to be Texas hosting Arizona State, Penn State hosting Alabama, which will be very interesting to see the Crimson Tide going to Happy Valley on college football playoff weekend. I have a battle of Indiana in the first round. I got Notre Dame hosting the Hoosiers of Indiana in the first round, as in the 7-10 matchup. In the 8-9 matchup, it's the same how it is now. In the 8-9 matchup, I got Ohio State hosting Tennessee. So those are my 12 teams based on the results that I think are going to happen this week. So those are my 12 teams that will be in the college football playoff. I just think, and as I said, 4 teams this week will be fighting for 7 spots. I'm not buying the fact that Miami, South Carolina, or Ole Miss have a chance. Their chance ended last night with them being ranked below Alabama. So it should be very interesting to see what happens with the college football playoff. But we are going to wrap up the show talking about some UConn basketball. And UConn basketball, they definitely need a big win. 5 of their first 8, they're 5-3, and their 5 wins are not good. They need a good win, and tonight would be a good win. They are favored by 2.5 points in Gamble to beat Baylor. They need a win. I think they need consistency from Caravan. They need consistency from McNeely. If they have good games, I think they could win. And they gotta contain Omier inside. They gotta contain Noshat Omier. If they can contain Omier and McNeely and Caravan can have big games, I think they win it. I think they finally get a big win in stores in the Big East, Big 12 Challenge. They beat Baylor. Baylor some pretty good guard play. Jeremy Roach transfer from Duke, so Baylor has some pretty good guard play. They're pretty good inside, but they also were 5-2 as well. So I think UConn wins tonight. I think UConn beats Scott Drew's team tonight. They win the game, and I think UConn goes 2-6-3. Now that's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with R&J. For Steve Risser and I'm Steve Risser, and I will be back next week. Justin will finally be back with me next week. And we'll be talking week 15 of the NFL season. We'll be reacting to the college football rankings, and I got a feeling that Juan Soto will select his new team by the time we're on the air next week. I have a really good feeling Juan Soto will select his new team, and if he does, we'll be talking about that. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All 4 Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men, and great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.